everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Gold Hoops and God podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren Guerra, and I have an amazing guest today, the fabulous poet, Diosa Quetzalcoatl. Hi, Diosa.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. So, we're going to dive right into our conversation. And as always, let's talk a little bit about culture. So, as we know, as Latinas, Hispanics, our identity is so complex. And the labels that are not only put upon us, but the labels that we end up identifying with can change over time as well, I think. And so
Yes.
I'm curious to hear from you sort of how you envision like your own, how you self-identify.
Well, I'll start off by saying I am Chicana, born and raised here in SoCal. I'm a SoCal girl, and so that's the first, right?
Sure.
I'm also Mexicana. I've lived and worked in Mexico as an adult, so I have my papers and everything.
Nice.
So, when I say that, I say that
Like
proudly
I
because
really am Mexicana
I
for
really
real.
am,
Yeah. And not just like a
exactly.
quick visit here and there. No, it makes a difference. It does. It's as far as like
Yes,
your connection and understanding of that land and that country, right? Like it does.
correct,
It makes a difference. Good for you.
correct. And then I'm also indigenous, so we are Cherokee on my dad's side, Purepecha on possibly both sides. But it's kind of hard to pinpoint. I know there are other aspects like from Jalisco.
Mm.
I can only um, estimate because there is no evidence, right, that we come from the Tecuash, from Los Altos de Jalisco, but still on the search as far as really identifying which tribes, but absolutely indigenous.
Yeah, I love it. And that is such an important point is the documentation, right? Because how things are documented, unfortunately, I think for many of us, our indigeneity has been erased or
Absolutely.
suppressed. And especially if you think about the desire, especially in coming to the US, like wanting to fit in, wanting to assimilate, that sometimes all of that gets left behind. So it can be very tricky. And also just the way things are documented in the Western world, it's not the
Yes,
same for indigenous communities or African communities. So
absolutely. And especially when you're looking at documentation in Mexico,
yeah.
it's like I've been able to trace my ancestry 7 generations,
Wow.
1700s.
Incredible.
And then so I'm following, and then all of a sudden in one, which was my great grandma, when it talked about raza, it's mixta,
Oh wow.
and that's it. And prior to that, that's it. I
Interesting.
mixta de qué and from where and how, like,
Wow.
um, and and that I think was documented just as there was an acceptance that there's this mixing,
Right.
but there was still this resistance. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of history that I don't know.
I
Um,
love that. Though I love that you've been able to trace your family back that many generations.
yeah,
Unfortunately, we don't have like for my family, we have very little information beyond like the great grandparents, and that's it.
yeah.
But that's amazing. Wow, good for you. I love
Thank
that.
you. I love ancestry.
It
I
is
love
fascinating. It is
genealogy.
fascinating. And so one of the things that I wanted to also talk about is your writing. So Diosa, as we
Mhm.
were sharing before we got started recording, Diosa is a prolific author and poet. So do you want to tell us about your latest project?
Oh my God, of course.
Yes.
So my latest poetry collection, Mi Chicana Mexicana, edited here by yours truly, Doctora Guerra.
Yes, I was the editor. Yes. So it's a little plug for you, a little plug for me, right? Like it was a collaboration.
Yes, and it was very cool, very cool. Published by Rite of Roses,
Mhm.
and very, very iconic, I guess, in today's conversation, right?
Yes.
Because I think it's an amalgamation of all the topics that are covered: culture
Yes.
and femininity and the inner child, all of it. I
Yes.
think is encompassed in this collection.
I love it. It is a
Yeah.
beautiful collection. I love that
Thank
there's
you.
poems that are more, well, for lack of a better word, more warm and fuzzy, and there's other poems that are sharp like a knife. And I think that's amazing because that's, as human beings, that's how we are. We have those different facets. We go through those different emotions, the ups and downs, anger, sadness, joy, grief, all of it together. And so it
Yes.
is a really beautiful collection. So make sure you pick up your copy through Riot of Roses, folks.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
excellent, excellent. Cool. So yeah, culture is definitely, I know culture is a big part of who you are, that you definitely embrace your culture, which I love. It's really
Yeah.
great. Yeah, awesome. And so another topic that I wanted to touch upon is like religion. So religion, I know it often gets a bad rap. I know people feel very nervous to talk about religion, but I don't know. I look at it a different way. For me, it's like
Mhm.
I love talking about the taboo topics because they are the elephant in the room. Things like
Right.
religion, politics, like I love talking about those things because people do have usually they have a strong opinion about it, and that's what I want to no, I want to know like how they arrived to that perspective, or there's usually a great story. In other words, there's usually a great story behind how people perceive these things. So I would love to hear from you as
Right.
far as like your experience with like religion. And I think especially for Latinx people, religion and culture go hand in hand. Even though a family's not super religious or going to church all day, they'll still have a picture of the Last Supper. I'm staring at a picture of the Last Supper across from me, which is why it came to mind. But things like that, bendiciones as someone's leaving the house, like those are like culturally infused and religious. These habit, not habits, but they're something that
Traditions.
traditions. They much, yeah, traditions
Yeah.
exactly.
No, absolutely. I mean, I grew up Catholic. My dad is a deacon, for
Is he
crying out loud.
really? Oh my god! Oh, I had no idea.
I'm a
Wow.
DK. I'm a DK.
Oh wow! I had no idea. Look at that. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Well,
This
it's not something, that I go out openly and say all the
like the
time,
rooftops.
right? Because it's a challenge in itself being a
Yeah,
DK.
that's a
And for those of
it's
you who
a
may
lot of
not
weight
know
to that.
DK, right?
Yeah, it's a
Deacon's
lot of
kid.
weight to that for sure.
Yes, and especially growing up in a small city like La Habra, there was no
Uh-huh.
escaping.
Yeah.
Um, I was forever the deacon's daughter, right?
Um,
And so I grew up very much, like I said, Catholic. We were the kind that went to catechism every year, not just to
yeah.
make our sacrament.
Nice.
Every year,
I like
every
that.
week. I grew up there, right? And I love to
Wow.
sing, so getting
Okay.
involved in the choir, that was,
Amazing.
my thing. But then my grandma was a catechist,
Oh.
so I started joining her. I was her assistant, and then I branched off. So she would work with the kindergartners, in Espanol, en misa en Espanol, everything in Espanol except catechism.
Oh.
Which I was
Interesting.
like, Dad, that's stupid. Like, why are you making us go to catechism in English when the mass is in Spanish? Like, do you not get it that we have a hard time connecting? It was
Mhm.
There was a disconnect
Yeah.
between what we were learning and what
Oh,
we
and
were
math.
living
Oh, I see, I see.
to a certain point for kids. Anyway,
Sure. That's hard. Yeah, like it's the
yeah,
concepts are hard. Like, what do you mean this guy was crucified and came back
yes,
from the dead? Like, what are you talking about? Like fishes and loaves and all the right. Like it can be
yes,
confusing. Of course like part of it is like belief and miracles and things that are not explained away. But as a child trying to understand, why it's so important, I can totally see that. The language being,
yes,
yeah.
yes. And so, but eventually, like I said, I branched off and started teaching my own classes, moving all the way up to the high school, doing confirmation,
Mhm.
which is where I learned my passion, teaching. So
Oh yeah.
besides, poetry, language, teaching. And so that gave me the experience and the opportunity to explore music,
Mhm.
singing, and teaching, right? But needless to say, one grows up and grows away from a lot of this. And in our home, besides my dad being a deacon, he's also, he was also in the army. So growing up with a
Oh,
sergeant, a
oh wow,
religious
yeah.
sergeant,
That's intense. Yeah.
it was challenging. Yeah.
That's intense. Yeah, I can see that being a lot. I can imagine there was a lot of strictness, like order, rules, strictness, like
Yes.
things have to be a certain way. I can see that. Yeah.
Yes. And my rebellious nature. Um,
Uh-oh. Dios is like, I'm not having it.
no, when my dad was ordained, he called us up, at his special mass, and he called us up individually. He's like, I like to thank my wife for this, blah blah blah. So when he calls me up, I like to thank. So my legal name is Adriana, my baptismal name,
Yeah.
and I'd like to thank my daughter Adriana for being my greatest challenge.
Oh.
Because I would, like we
Yeah.
were,
Keeping him on his
I was
toes.
involved with, I was
Yeah.
involved with Mecha, I was involved with the
Yes.
community, and my dad always had, also, struggled with that terminology Chicana and the culture
Yeah.
because of his experience with the Vietnam War and him
Oh,
coming back, and there was this
yeah.
clash,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he went to the war, and
That's
so
hard.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it now. But
I
back
understand
then,
where he's
he's
coming
like,
from. Sure.
that word, you're not allowed to use it, just things like
Oh,
that.
interesting. Wow.
So when we're creating this community posada, I was like, oh, you know what? My dad can come and, he could do a little bit of the rosary. And so when I come home and I was like, so we're going to have this posada in the barrio and I signed you up, you're going to do the rosary. And he's like, no. I was like, what? No, we're not going to no, no, this is dangerous
Mm.
kind of attitude.
Oh, interesting. Mhm.
And so I threw back like, dangerous. Isn't that exactly where Jesus would go?
Yep.
Isn't that
Yes,
exactly? Uh,
absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Oh my gosh.
So
It,
yeah,
yeah.
so
It was not
I
an
mean,
easy road. Like it was sometimes doing the right thing is risky. It has its own risks to it. So that's incredible. Wow, good for you.
so he, we ended up going to the posada. He ended up doing the rosary, and so that's just one example of, I would challenge him, right?
Mhm.
I would challenge his beliefs because um, there was a level of fanaticism, I want to say,
Mhm.
because I was a teenager when he got ordained.
I see.
So, in the beginning, I always see that across religions, right? In the
Yeah.
beginning, there's this level of fanaticism, and so, he wanted to be like 100%,
Yeah.
and I would challenge that. And so, needless to say, as an adult, I prayed a lot to connect to my indigenous roots.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I was living in San Bernardino, and I was like, Creator, I know there's got to be sweat lodges out here.
Yeah.
And I had the experience of a sweat lodge through my Native American Studies class. Shout out to Mr.
Oh.
Padilla.
Oh,
We
cool.
went out to the Gila River Reservation, my first sweat lodge.
Really?
We built the teepee. We slept in the teepee. We did
Oh,
a
wow.
lodge.
That's
And I was
intense.
like, yes, this is what I'm missing. This is
What I
really,
want to connect to. Yeah.
yes.
I
And
love it.
so, sure enough, I was in San Bernardino, and then the opportunity for a ceremony in LA at the LA Park. You've got the
Amazing.
metro running over here, you have the skyrise buildings, and
Yeah.
there's a bear ceremony, and I'm there.
I love
And
it.
I'm like, and that just started because I prayed hard for it. And that started my
That's
journey
beautiful.
into the world of ceremony and
Mhm.
lodges and vision quests and
That's awesome.
um, you know GP ceremonies, and I'm so blessed
I love
to
it.
have those experiences,
Is
and
it,
and and taking my son
oh, it's
into those.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful that you share it with your son. That's awesome. And it's so true that there's so many different ways to connect with the divine, with God, using whatever word one wants to, either call it the
Mhm.
universe, higher power, God, etc. I say God more so almost as a shorthand. It's like, yes, yes, I was raised Roman Catholic, but my definition of God is the universe is much, much
Mhm.
greater than just, you know, the way that we often depict God as something small.
Right.
Um, and so I love that you were able to explore and find ways to connect to your more indigenous ways of knowing, indigenous spirituality. And it's funny how sometimes it's right there, it's right in our own backyard, but we don't know it, you know.
Right.
And so I'm glad, that's so beautiful that you kind of like called it into existence, actually. Like you prayed for
Yeah.
it and there it was. I love that. That's really beautiful.
Absolutely. And
That's
and
so cool.
and that's and I mean more than, really connecting and finding my true self was giving my son that opportunity,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it turned our world around. He became a bow out dancer, and
Oh wow.
it just beautiful experiences and incredible connections and expansions to our higher power is, yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. I love it. Wow, I love it. So you really have a lot of experience and knowledge, not only in what we can call sort of like the traditional religions, Catholic, but also more of this indigenous spiritual practices. That's so cool. That's
yeah.
really great.
And at the same time, in that search, and in the search part of that, or one of the primary reasons, like that was the moment, is this medical condition that appeared,
Mm.
thanks to stress. It's called
Oh,
spasmodic dysphonia.
oh,
And I was in my first year of teaching
oh,
officially as a California public school teacher. And all of a sudden, my voice is giving me problems.
oh, I see.
And Western medicine, which I never trusted to begin
Mm-hmm.
with, could
Mm-hmm.
not figure out what was going on.
Oh gosh. Wow.
It took 2 years to get a diagnosis.
Oh my gosh.
There's no real cure. There's Botox injections that I could get every so many months.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the end of the 3 month cycle, which
Mm-hmm.
you can hear my voice is a little choppy.
Mm.
And that was it. I was like, there has to be I have to, there has to be a solution. There has to
Yeah,
be,
there has to be a way. There's another
yes,
way. There has to be another way. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Which prompted me on, just diving into my shadow. I studied Nahualismo. I was going all the way to Berkeley, living in the desert at the time, going all the way to Berkeley to take classes, going all the way to Pasadena from the desert to study Kundalini yoga. All of these branches gave me tremendous experiences,
I love it.
amazing breakthroughs, life changing moments
Hmm.
that, regardless or not if I'm able to find the cure, have cured me in other ways.
I love it. That's
Unbelievable.
beautiful. That's amazing. So the journey, the journey is a process. The journey of healing is definitely a process. And it's true. I
Yes,
think that's such a good reminder for people that if you have some kind of, something going on physically, yes, Western medicine can help, but look to the spiritual too. Look to other ways of knowing, other modes of healing, like with herbs, teas. There's so much more out there that can be very beneficial for people.
absolutely. That was another thing that I also branched into herbalism. Again, going all the way to Long Beach. Like I
Mhm.
commuted all across Southern California to find answers, to find myself,
Yeah,
to heal body, mind, and spirit.
I love it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so, Diosa, I imagine that writing is also something very healing. It can be
Oh,
a very healing process. Let's talk about writing for a little bit. As we mentioned before, you're a prolific author. You have many books of poetry already published. Can you kind of walk us through what got you started? And if you're, kind of reflecting on the books that you've published, like how is this last book different or new?
Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I want to say it was middle school, that poetry unit. I think we were exposed to it like in fourth grade, but it was in middle school, really, sixth grade, seventh grade. This poetry unit, and I fell in. I mean, I was in love with poetry, and I had never realized. My dad actually had these little booklets that he would get that were spiritual or religious poems.
Oh.
He liked to read in the bathroom. So he had his little magazine. So
Okay.
I would start and I would read these little booklets of poetry, but I never connected it until recently. I
Oh.
said, wait a minute, I've been reading poetry this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was that middle school unit, where, again, in that middle school age, I know it's a delicate time.
Mm-hmm.
We are definitely rebelling against our parents,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find ourselves, identify ourselves, who we are as individuals, apart from our parents, culturally, spiritually, you name it, right? The
Right.
revolution begins, and the hormones don't help.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting there and I was like, but where are the poems in Spanish? That was my rebuttal. Where are the poems? And I read this poem, right? Never Give the Heart. And I loved it. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, where's the Spanish version of this poem?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write it. Y Nunca Des el Corazón was the first poem I wrote
I
in
love it.
Espanol. And from there, I was just a closeted poet. I would just write and, keep them in a drawer.
Wow.
Got to middle school, we had a literary magazine. I would try and publish. I didn't get a whole lot of things published. I auditioned to be valedictorian, the speech, not
Uh-huh.
to do the speech for
The
the
speaker, yeah.
valedictory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was a poem. It got
I love
shot
it.
down. I
Oh.
didn't.
Oh
They're like, nope,
no.
nope. And like I said, I was published very little in high school, and then life happens, and everything just ends up in a drawer. But I
Wow.
kept at it, not as much. But it wasn't until pandemic came.
Mm. Oh yeah.
So from the moment I was pregnant, and my son just turned 26. So from the moment I was pregnant, um, till uh, about 10 years ago, um, was when I discovered, or I was finally being close enough to, yeah, to just go to the Noche de Bohemia in
Oh
Espanol.
yeah. Tia Chuchas. Yes, I'm familiar. They're great. They're a great space. They're awesome.
So now that I was living in Pasadena, like I said about 10 years ago, I'm finally close enough. I was like, I'm going to Noche Bohemia. And about a year after that, the pandemic comes. First time that I'm not working two jobs. Like I said, ever since I was pregnant, I have always worked two jobs, full
Oh
time
wow.
and a part time,
Oh my gosh.
and going to school and raising my son because I knew that's what I needed to give my son a better life, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And so pandemic comes, I
Hmm.
lose one of the jobs, and so I only have the one. And
Yeah.
there was an opportunity, which is where I met Brenda, in the CLI program, where we were online working on building this manuscript. I'm like, Jesus, I have enough poems already.
Yeah. I love it.
um, and I had already envisioned, like, I had like this chapbook kind of complete,
Hmm.
but it a fear held me. Like,
Hmm.
how do I do this?
Hmm.
Where do I start? I have
Hmm.
no idea. And that always held me back, besides not having the time. And
Right.
it takes time to figure all that out. So,
Right.
nonetheless, book number one, A Church of My Own,
Yay.
came out as I was wrapping up that Kundalini. So I'm a level one yoga, Kundalini yoga instructor.
Oh
Um,
wow.
at the same time that I was studying Nahualismo, at the same
Oh
time
my
that I'm doing
gosh.
all these ceremonies
So many
and
things. Wow.
traveling
You
all
know
over.
what? Oh my gosh, you're involved in so many different things at the same time.
Yes.
Amazing. Good for you.
And that's where a church of my own came.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
this is a journey about enlightenment. The good, the
Beautiful.
bad, and the ugly. Because people think healing is linear. No way,
Oh, can
right?
we talk about it for a minute? People think it's all sunshine and roses and cute little rainbows. It can
It's
get dark. It can get dark before it gets light. It can get
absolutely
gut wrenching, especially if you're trying to do shadow work and trying to like
yes.
heal through past traumas, generational
Mm,
traumas, all the rest. It is no joke. It is the healing journey is not for the weak.
no,
Same thing as therapy. Like I swear by therapy, finding the right therapist can really transform your life for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely,
I love
absolutely.
it. So I didn't know that was the genesis of your first book. That's so great.
So yeah, capturing a lot of that journey, um,
Beautiful.
and realizing that I don't live in a box. And I've heard people respond to me like, "Oh, entonces eres convenenciera. You just take what works for you." And I'm like, "No es convenenciera. I take what works for me because it works for me. And as long as I'm not hurting anybody,
Yeah,
myself or anybody else, what works for me. Therefore,
absolutely.
a church of my own
Yeah, and
and
and you're
amalgamation.
allowed. You're allowed to transform. You're allowed to like find your um a place to call home. A spiritual home. Like that's
Yeah,
amazing. I love it.
absolutely. So then came Hechicera,
Nice.
the shadow. But this is the fun. This
The
is
fun
the
side.
spicy shadow. I mean, it is
Okay.
embracing your shadow, but lo prohibido, lo
Yes,
prohibido
I
in
love it.
in womanhood, in culture, in society, um, which I lovingly dub the church is basement.
Uh-huh. I love it. I love it.
So
That's
it's
great.
hot and spicy and fun. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, agárrense, yeah. And so I look at all my books as fingerprints, which I
I
don't have
love that.
Felices Fiestas. I don't know why I don't have it here. But Felices Fiestas is a holiday collection that
Oh, cute.
a parody, a parody
Aw.
on Christmas, and it'll have you laughing all the way. I say that is the new Chicanx classic, a must have in every
I love
Latina
it.
home because it includes a family game at the very end. So it's only
Oh,
four
fun.
poems. The 12 Actos of Christmas, Silver Bells, um, uh, se me fue el título de the other one. And the last one was the night that Santa got stopped by La Migra.
Oh, wow.
And
Powerful.
that's the family game, actually.
Oh, wow.
So it's
Amazing.
bringing humor to
Yeah.
the holidays and poking fun too.
It's
Then we
amazing.
have Conversaciones con los Difuntos. This was my
Oh,
first book that was published in Mexico, in Sonora,
oh, nice.
and my first truly bilingual. So I consider myself a multilingual poet, not because
Mhm.
I'm a polyglot. I don't profess to know all these languages. I'm
Mhm.
only truly fluent in English and Spanish, but I
Mhm.
have studied French and I've studied Nahuatl and I've tried Purepecha, but that was just so hard. I'm not giving up. It was too difficult at that time.
Mhm.
But this is where I truly have not translations, they're called alternate versions.
Oh, cool.
I refuse to just take the words,
Mhm.
but really looking at the
The
meaning and
meaning. Yes.
a new poem.
Yes. Translation, yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. Translation has to be done a certain way. Sometimes when you can tell when somebody's just like literally like reversing, not reversing, literally like translating the words, but the meaning is lost. Like
Yeah.
there's some words that really, you know, they don't have the same weight or they don't have the same intonation that they do in the
Yes.
original language. I always tell people if you can read something in the original, read it in the original.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
which which in a church of my own I was highly encouraged to do footnotes and I fought it
Uh-huh.
Because I'm like, they can look it up, right?
Yeah.
I finally understood, like, why am I giving the audience more work than they need?
Mhm.
Right, put it all. But anyhow, so this one, for each poem that I wrote originally in Spanish, it has its English alternate version and vice versa. So when you flip through it, you'll be like, well, this one's first in English, this one's first in Spanish. That's
Oh,
how I wrote it. So if it came to me in English, I published that one first and then the
nice.
alternate after.
Perfect.
So this one, speaking of those life-changing experiences,
Mhm.
um, there's obviously paranormal because it's conversations with the dead.
Mhm.
So these are those experience. Oh, how funny! Did you see that little?
I saw it. It was a little orb, I think. Yeah. Oh my god, that's like, awesome.
Thank you. So,
Spirit's with us for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
documenting those experiences that I'd had, those conversations that I'd had.
That's
So yeah,
amazing. I love it. I love it.
it was so cool. Then we had When the Leaves Come Tumbling Down, an A to Z collection of about loss.
Oh wow.
So literally, starting with a poem titled with the A, and going all the way to a poem starting with the Z, and all kinds of loss, not just death, but loss of relationships, loss
Mhm.
of self or identity. So yeah,
Yeah.
and the cool part of this one is when you flip it, the leaves are falling.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it. I love it. I
Just
think it's timely to talk about, a book on loss. I think that the holidays are a very difficult time for people. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, because typically people will get together with relatives, and if there is loss, not only in the sense of death, right, the death loss, but also just disconnection. Families that are no longer close or maybe never were close, it can be quite painful. I think it can be it's a little bit of a sore subject. So that's a really timely book. That's
which
amazing.
came out in the fall precisely for that. It's a cuddle
Yeah.
book. I
Yeah.
want people to cuddle with it and feel the feels.
Yeah. That's
Especially
great.
during there's a lot of us that do have downtime.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
we're supposed to have downtime.
We're
It's
supposed to
the
have
wish.
downtime. I know it's yeah, we're not supposed to be working 80 hours a week with no
Yeah,
stop. Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
If we
Amazing.
followed the cycles, we wouldn't be so going crazy and being stressed all
Yeah,
the time because we're
exactly.
working against nature.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
so then there came Mi Chicana Mexicana. And I was
Yay.
like,
The newest edition.
yeah, yeah, just really, bringing home my Mexicanidad, my Chicanidad, um, and I want to say every collection, my little stamps of what makes it feels are the multilingualism,
Mhm.
the empowerment, feminine empowerment, female empowerment, and then culture, of course.
Yeah.
So this brings them all together.
I love it.
Um, and, I specifically, uh, when working on the cover, I told Paola, I just gave her the symbols. I'm like, there needs to be a border, it needs to
Mhm.
be a desert, and I need to have the prickly pear, and I need to have the saguaro.
Mhm.
And she put it,
It's
I
beautiful.
was
It's
like,
a
I
beautiful
couldn't
cover.
have asked. This is
It's
the
perfect.
one, yeah, the one cover, yeah, that I was just like, these are just the symbols I want. Have at it. Um,
Really nice.
yeah, because um, I spent most of my time in the border, in
Mhm. The
Mexicali. My
borderlands.
mom's family is
Yeah.
from there, and I call it my second home, and that's
Yeah.
where I lived as an adult.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, Diosa. That was beautiful. Thank you for walking us through your collection of awesome books. Make sure you check it out, folks. Riot of Roses Publishing is where you can find a lot of Diosa's work. Shout out to Brenda Vaca, who is the owner and also a poet herself.
Yes,
Brenda Vaca of Riot of Roses Publishing. She's a good friend. friend and colleague to us.
Oh, oh my God. And I didn't have, why am I missing books? West, West of
Somos
the, and then
Chicanas, ¿no?
another
The
Sacred
Somos Chicanas
Places.
collection. Oh no.
Because I was going to put them side by side, but I don't know. But west of the Santa Ana, another sacred place is in Michicana Mexicana, or
Hmm.
Bride of Roses. And it's funny because this one has a pink hue,
Uh-huh.
and west of the Santa Ana is pink.
Oh.
And that's actually the coming of age one, right? Um, so growing up in Orange County, that's
Oh.
where the book starts.
Oh,
It
cool.
starts in the city of La Habra, travels through Orange County, goes through LA County, and then just kind of, goes through the IE, and then eventually goes off the planet.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh. This is so lovely. As we kind of wrap up our time together, I always ask my guests to reflect a little bit on the inner Nina. Because I think for many of us, for different reasons, we have to grow up very quickly, or there's things that we wish we would have known as a young child that could have been a source of like wisdom or advice. I would love to hear what you would tell little Diosa if you could go back in time, pick any age, and then just general advice for young people today. I can't imagine what it's like to grow up during these times. Like there is so much going on. It's really rough. I don't think that social media is making it any easier on anybody. So yeah, so I'll open it up to you.
So I remember looking at that question um, in your survey, I think it was. Um, and I'm going to share what I've taught my son from the moment he was born. I used to call him Mr. President.
Oh,
I don't
nice. That's cute.
because
I love it.
I wanted him to know that the world was his and he could make it whatever he wanted,
Anything
right?
could, yeah, he can make anything happen. Good for him. That's so beautiful. That's wonderful, Diosa.
And so I would look at Mr. President and say, Nunca le tengas miedo a la vida, sino nunca vas a hacer nada.
I love it.
And to this day, I mean, like,
So
and he
good.
just turned 26 and he's like, Mom, yeah, like, if, that's like tattooed in my brain.
That's incredible. That is such great advice. So, I'll translate brief speaking translation.
Yeah,
So basically, to not be afraid of life, essentially just go for it, and I
yeah,
think that's so true. I think that a lot of times we second guess ourselves, we hold ourselves back, we feel like we're not good enough when that's not the case at all. Like, and honestly, failing or falling down is part of the process. You fall down and you dust yourself off and you get back up and you try a different way and you try a different way. So I think that's really beautiful that you gave your son that wisdom from very young, and that he has really embraced that, and that's been very helpful for him in life. That's beautiful.
and so yeah, that's what I have to say, right? To young people, just don't be afraid of life. There
Hmm.
were so many things that we didn't do,
Hmm.
that we didn't do when we could have,
Hmm.
um, out of fear. I could have been published, in my 20s, but the fear of the unknown. And
Yeah.
so just do it, even if you're scared. I
Even
mean,
if you're scared, just do it. And tell me what you think about this too. I also do believe there's an element of divine timing, right? That there is a sense of like we co-create with the universe. So in other words, like when we're ready, the opportunities will present themselves, and it
absolutely.
kind of comes together. Because the other side of that is like feeling bad about not having done XYZ. It's like, oh, I didn't do this when I was 20, so I'm not going to do it now. No, it doesn't. If you're 30, 40, 50, 60, as long as you have breath in your lungs, right? Go for
Exactly.
it. Go for it. I love music, and I was pleasantly surprised. I saw this little thing on Instagram that a lot of they're all men, but anyway, that's a different topic. A lot of the big EDM DJs, they're in their 50s. So I'm like,
Wow.
okay, so this is not like It's in other words, like it's not too late for me to learn how to DJ.
Absolutely.
I love music. So, but things like that, right? It's just a reminder, or you'll hear things like, for example, I think it was Oprah. She didn't get her big start until she was in her 40s. After, I think, after being fired from a company, a news show, or so, I don't know. But in other words, like the
yeah,
road doesn't always have to be straightforward. It's going to have its ups and downs, its bumps and curves, but it's just keep on moving, keep on
absolutely.
striving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not regretting the could have, would have. Those don't
Coulda,
exist
woulda,
in my
shoulda.
vocabulary.
Yeah. The
Could
coulda,
have, would
woulda,
have,
shoulda.
should have. They don't, and I don't allow it. And I'm like, they
Like,
don't.
no, yeah, good for you.
No.
It's so true. Like, because we beat ourselves up. We
Hmm.
beat ourselves up, and it just pushes us down into like a negative place. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh, Fiesta, this was lovely. This was such a great conversation with you.
Thank you.
Tell the good people where they can find you on the interwebs.
So you can find me at Yosa underscore Xochiquetzalco. If you just put Yosa X, I'll be one of the first ones that show up
Perfect.
on Instagram or Facebook. I have a website too, Diosa X.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
give me a look up. Check it
Yes,
out.
for sure. And I'll make sure to
Thank
tag
you.
you when I
Oh, go ahead.
post. Yeah, I'll make sure to tag you when I post the episode. So amazing. Thank you so much, BSI. This was a
Thank
lovely
you.
conversation. Folks, thank you for listening in to the Gold Hoops and God podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Guerra. We are wrapping up this season shortly, so make sure you enjoy every episode. Thank you. Bye.